Look at that new interface. Oh, it's so bright. Oh. All right, we will wait just to make sure people are here. Oh, hi, Bags. How's everyone doing? Oh, we have already, I can't tell, 100 people?
I can't see.
Here we go.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. It's January 20th. What is today? The 20th.
The 20th.
Yes, it's the 20th. And this is our first breastfeeding Q&A of the year.
2016.
Yeah, 2016, getting it done. So we're very excited to be here at Shari's house in Jersey. I'm excited because I did not realize my bags under my eyes were this bad until this camera came on.
I didn't realize my eyes were so bad I couldn't see the bags.
It's great. It's great. It's great. You've met them before, Samsonite and Toomey. It's very good. So there we go. We started this last year with Evenflo, where we come together. We answer your questions that you've left for us, as well as live about breastfeeding and pumping. And by taking part in this conversation, you could win a breast pump. So most of you here know who I am. So for those of you who don't know, Shari, talk about yourself. I've known, God, how many years have I known you now? 5, 6?
A long time.
A
6 years.
A long time. So we're very excited to be working together again. So go ahead and give them your background. So just so you know, she's not a lunatic.
Well, I didn't say that.
Well,
sometimes. Anyway, tonight, hopefully not. Hi, everybody. I know a lot of you, and this has been already, this is the 3rd time we've been sitting in front of the fire together?
3rd or 4th,
Third or 4th. It's been going on for a while. This has been so much fun, and my name is Shari Criso, and I am let's start this way. I've been taking care of moms for like 26 years.
Yeah.
A long time. I was a registered nurse. I'm a certified nurse midwife. I'm a board certified lactation consultant, international board certified lactation consultant, and I have been working with Jamie doing these live shows for many years.
Years ago, we used to do this.
Before video was even the thing.
Before we had this ability, we used to have cameras and all kinds of things set up, and it was a mess. But she was doing this a long time before all of this was possible, and we enjoyed it. So it felt right, and it made sense to do it again. Now that all you do is hit a button on your phone.
And so many of you guys have been coming over to my page and asking questions, and we've been having so much fun together. And I've been looking forward to this night to be with you since last month.
Yeah.
Since the last time we did this.
Yeah.
And it's just a really great thing that we get to do this tonight again. We enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time.
And we got lots of questions.
So I've got my computer here with my little ET sticker on it. Sorry if he freaks you out. I know a lot of you are not ET fans. I, however, am. So we have some of your questions here. So I'm just going to go through and pull some of them out. And this smart lady over here is going to answer them. I'm just here to facilitate conversation. All right?
We will try.
So, here we go. We're going to start. Let me find something good. Let me,
Oh my God, I'm seeing so many names I know. It's so nice.
There are a lot of you here right now.
So awesome.
Yeah, we got about 1,000 people, I think, watching right now.
Wow. Happy birthday, Rebecca.
Oh, happy birthday. We love that. Here's a good question, actually. And I think this is important because a lot of moms do go back to work. So, Shannon asks, so I've started, I love always saying Shannon asks and introducing. So I've started, I'm going to get the giggles, not because of the question, but because of life. So I've started back to work, and I have noticed that my supply has gone down. My little one has also gotten a little lazy in that fact that she is starting to refuse the breast because of the bottle. What can I do to keep my supply up, and how can I get my little one and how can we get rebonded? Here's something I found interesting. I'm going to butt in here for a second. Before I met Shari, and I was working at a birth education center, I went through all these breastfeeding classes with all these IBCLCs and everything, and it's something I now harp on at my events when we talk about like bottles and whatnot, because when you go into a retail store, okay, and you're looking at like the nipple wall, and it's like stage 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. As you go up in stages, the flow gets a lot faster, okay? Your nipple flow does not change while you're breastfeeding. The contents of your milk will, but the nipple flow stays the same. So if you are nursing and you're using a bottle, stay with the slowest flow possible, or when that matches your own natural nipple, because if baby's going faster, 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 they get used to that, and that can create a problem. And I was not aware of that until I went through classes myself. So
you definitely want to, and it's true, exactly what Jamie said. The nipple flow does not change. The baby's ability to extract milk from the breast changes, so they can get more efficient, where they're actually pulling more milk out and they're getting the milk to flow faster. It can also go faster if you have like an oversupply or your breasts are really full, so that can also affect it. But what you don't want to do is, you want to stay with a slow flow nipple, but then not too slow where the baby's working too hard to try to get the milk out. So it's not about, you know, and when they sell them, like the marketing when it comes to nipples about like the ages.
like, it's 6 months?
And then I'll have moms who say, my baby's 3 months old, they have to switch to the next. You want to watch your baby, because if the baby is working really hard, like sucking a lot with a little bit of swallowing at that bottle, you probably want to increase the nipple flow on that. If the milk's pouring out of the baby's mouth, you probably want to slow it down. So it really is great what you offered. And to get back to the question about what she was asking and how does she prevent this like confusion, it's not really confusion, it's more like preference. Probably what you want to do is just do a lot of skin to skin with your baby. I think this is going to be my answer tonight for a lot of things, because it's just been the question a lot of like, how do I keep bonding? I just did this whole article on going back to work. How do you continue to keep that bond up while you're working? And you know, skin to skin is something that the baby's missing when you're away. Think about it. It's not just that they're breastfeeding. What are you doing when you're breastfeeding? Your baby's skin to skin. So
baby
a lot
wearing would also be very good.
That was actually one of the tips I gave him. Baby wearing, skin to skin, and just taking the time to be with your baby. So I know, like when you go back to work, you're gonna have all these like things that you're like, oh, I gotta get the laundry done, all these things that gotta get happen. But truth is that your baby needs you even more when you're home. So some of those things have to get put to the side or asked for help, or you know, just not gonna get done the way that you're expecting it to get done.
It's very sensible. Very sensible. Oh, there's so many questions. My God.
I know.
My little one, Christina, asks, my little one doesn't take the bottle. She took it 2 times and she won't anymore. We used the newborn flow nipples in several different bottles. What can I do to get her to take a bottle? Oh,
it's such a hard thing. Let's just back up, because I would say, you know, how to get the baby to now take a bottle now that the baby's rejecting it.
This has also been a question that I've seen pop up before I came in today. Is when is the proper time to introduce a bottle?
And that's where I'd really like to go to that question, because I think for all the new moms out there who may have a newborn at home, or you're pregnant and you hear so much conflicting information about, you know, you need to wait 4 to 6 weeks before you actually introduce the baby to a bottle. I really don't recommend that. I recommend starting much sooner than that, like within the first 3 weeks, 2 weeks, earlier. As soon as your baby is established breastfeeding, your milk supply has come in, your baby's nursing well, everything's going well, that's when I recommend people to start pumping like just a small amount, like maybe a ½ an ounce, and introduce that bottle to the baby on a daily basis. So like have dad feed the baby, or you could feed the baby too. But the point is not to supplement pumped milk. What you're trying to do is get that nipple in the baby's mouth every day, so the baby never gets to this point of the question here, which is, maybe we took a bottle twice, then I didn't give the baby the bottle for a month, and now I can't do it again. Because you know what? Babies are smart, and they really don't want that. So if they're breastfed and they love breastfeeding, and you know how much a breastfed baby loves the boob, they're not going to want the bottle. So to answer her question, what I would say is try different bottles, try different nipples. Sometimes what we're recommended, like bottles or nipples that look like the breast, don't really, those are not the ones to look for. I've heard of, really flat, wide neck nipples. The baby actually latches or puts their lips around those kind of nipples more like a straw. What you want is a nipple that actually the baby's lips can rest on the base so that the baby's more of a wide mouth.
Yeah.
You don't want a nipple that's too long that's going to gag the baby.
There are lots of bottles out there with nipples.
These are the things you need to try, and I think that eventually with trying, and if you keep trying, the baby will eventually take the bottle. If your baby doesn't take a bottle, babies can also drink from cups. And so there are infant feeding cups. There are different ways to feed your baby other than the bottle if it really comes down to that.
Yeah.
But the best advice is try to prevent that from happening by introducing early and doing it consistently.
Very good. Very sensible. Jamie has a question, and we cover this every time we do this, so I think it always bears repeating. I'm going to start solids soon with my almost 6-month-old, and I was wondering if the amount of breast milk I give him each day will decrease. Also, will feeding him solids have an impact on my supply?
Yes, it will have an impact on your supply because naturally the baby's going to be not as hungry. Joe's doing the fire behind us. I know.
Stoke it.
That's a real fire behind us. So, naturally your breast milk
those are also real Christmas lights.
We do Christmas through February.
Someone hasn't taken them down, and I do not judge.
Thank you.
I appreciate festivity.
Exactly. We kept it up just for you. So, what was I even talking about? You got me on track.
6-month solids.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yes, your milk supply is definitely going to decrease because your baby's not going to be as hungry. And we all know that breast milk is supply and demand. So the more the baby eats, the more milk you're going to make. If your baby's eating solid foods, they're going to be less hungry for as much breast milk. And it's natural that the second half of the year, you will naturally have less milk than the first half because you're giving some of their nutrition through their food. What I recommend is making sure that you're breastfeeding your baby first, then offering the solids. That will help to keep your supply up and keep the baby getting as much breast milk as possible. That's sometimes difficult in a way that moms can deal with, like going back to work. They're going back to work, they're not able to, and this is a question that is going to come up a lot too, which is, I'm back at work. I can't seem to keep up with as much milk as I need to leave for my baby. The baby's, 10 months, 11 months old, 12 months old. That's a good time to feed their solid foods is when you're gone. You don't have to leave as much milk. Save the meals for the person who's watching the baby. And then breastfeed when you're home.
The meals for the Manny, the milk for mom.
There you go. Perfect.
I'm a big fan of the Manny,
so well
too.
said. So well
Listen,
said.
I come up with lots of good things.
Perfect.
Miriam we've actually never discussed this,
What's
ever.
That?
You commented. Miriam asks, for someone with flat nipples hoping to avoid the nipple shield, would it help to use a pump to invert the nipples before latching baby? Or is there another option I don't know of?
Yes, it's a really good question. Lots of people have flat nipples, which then can make it difficult, especially for a newborn. It usually becomes a non-issue at all. As you continue to breastfeed, your nipples will tend to naturally be drawn out more than when you start. And an older baby, they're not really latching. When a baby latches properly to the breast, they're not latching directly to the nipple. They're latching to the areola and beyond. So
that's interrupting.
Yes.
It's something that I yell at the teacher I studied under when I worked there. She always said, your baby is not nipple feeding, they are breastfeeding.
Correct.
So you really have to look at that latch and how much breast tissue they're taking in. That's very important.
But for a newborn with a small mouth, it can be difficult if the nipple's not protruding out to actually put the breast, because you're really putting the breast into their mouth. You're putting the nipple into their mouth. Using the pump initially to pull the nipple out, like what she just said, that's definitely a good thing you could try. Probably having a manual pump to do that would be easier than hooking up your electric, but you can use your electric for that. And there are products in the market. There's one called an Evertit. It's like a little suction. that actually, it's like a little suction cup, and you pull with, it has like a syringe on the end.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've seen that.
I've used that with clients before.
I'm not ashamed to admit I've seen that.
And it definitely can work. And so if you find that just a little bit of pulling out of the nipple with some suction, whether it's everted or a pump, helps to do that, fine. If your breasts are still really flat, or your nipples are still really flat, you're not able to latch the baby, then probably you'd want to see a lactation consultant. Don't just use nipple shields without a consultant. I really think that's important. I'm a big fan of nipple shields because they work really well when you need it for multiple reasons. But you need someone to follow you. You need someone to evaluate, like, is your baby transferring milk through that shield?
Yeah.
You know,
my sister used them with the
twins. And I
use
use them all the time with clients that do come in for different reasons, whether it's flat nipples or a baby that's transferring back from being too used to a bottle, getting them back on the breast, or nipples that are just so damaged from improper latch that it's so painful to nurse. That can help, and you do eventually wean off the shield, but it's not something you really want to do on your own. They sell them at Babies R Us, and people just go out and buy them willy-nilly and just put them on, and not a good idea.
Very good. Brittany asks, I am naturally large-chested on a small frame. I've had issues with my previous 2 children with latching and feeding due to large nipples as well. I had mastitis with both. I only lasted 2.5 months each. What are tips to help me breastfeed long-term with my 3rd baby due in March? First off, congrats on 2.5 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hooray.
Yeah.
2.5 months is great.
Anything you do is great. And I want to address actually her mastitis because that's probably her biggest issue that she's had. And when I put the two together, when I think of her describing her large breasts and the mastitis, the first thing that's coming to mind is improperly fit nursing bras.
Okay.
Probably one of the biggest reasons that she's getting the mastitis is she's not able to fit her bra properly, and this is so common for large-breasted women, which most nursing moms are large-breasted at that point, and so you're going to have that issue. A lot of stores that you go into don't go higher than a double D, where I find that the average size of a nursing mom is an F.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, and a lot of them will know what that means.
I've never had to fit myself for a bra.
But F, G, H, those are all bra sizes that when I was doing bra fittings and I was selling bras in my store, those were like the most common sizes, but you won't find them. So it's really important to find some place that's going to fit you properly for your nursing bras. Go smaller in the band and larger in the cup. Okay, and that's what I would recommend doing, is to really don't keep going bigger and bigger in the band. I'll have people who have very large breasts, and they'll say to me, they're this tiny little women with large breasts, and they're wearing like a 40B. And I'm like, no. Okay, they're going bigger in the band, and so the cup's not fitting properly. The other thing, too, is make sure that you're avoiding underwire bras, especially in the beginning. I would say to at least 6 months, till the baby's 6 months old. If you can avoid them the entire time that you're breastfeeding, it's much better for your breast tissue and much less risk of plug ducts and mastitis. It's the #1 reason that I see. So, larger cup, smaller band.
There we go. Larger cup, smaller band. We're going to go over to my page now, not this live feed. We're going to go to this in a second. We have lots of good questions tonight. And thankfully, we have props. So get ready.
We do have props.
Caffeine. How easily is it actually transferred through breast milk? And would you say it's safe to have some and it not make baby stay awake for weeks? This tired mama needs caffeine boost in the morning.
Yeah, it's fine. Caffeine's fine to have while you're breastfeeding. Everything in moderation, but you need that cup of coffee, and probably more than one, which is still okay. It could go through your breast milk. Again, what you want to see is if your baby's not sleeping after you've drank after you had that cup of coffee,
yes.
then you probably want to stay away from caffeine. But if your baby's sleeping and you're not seeing any issue, I would say, yeah, caffeine's fine. And actually, when you think of all things really related to breastfeeding, let's go into like another topic with that that's related. Alcohol, medications, all these things, okay? It's so different than when you're pregnant. So when you're pregnant, there's a blood connection between you and a developing fetus. And everything that you take in, whether it's medications, alcohol, caffeine, everything, directly transfers right to that baby that's developing and having different stages of development. We don't know what's happening at that particular moment. And in the concentrations that are much higher because it's blood.
Yeah.
When you're breastfeeding, it's totally different, and almost all medications actually are safe to use while breastfeeding. I can't stand when I hear moms talk about, I got a breast infection, my doctor put me on antibiotics, so I had to start pumping and dumping. Wrong. I mean, there's always a substitute that's safe to breastfeed.
Yeah.
So you can definitely take medications, you can drink caffeine, and you can also drink alcohol while you're breastfeeding. I'm not, encouraging you to go drink alcohol, but if you would like to have a drink, it's totally okay. What you try to do is
class while you're nursing, class right after.
You time it, because so you drink the alcohol, right? And then the alcohol goes through your body and it goes into the milk, but it doesn't stay in the milk. So if enough time goes by, what happens is it diffuses back out of the milk. That milk's not ruined. It's not like you have to pump it and throw it out at that point. You could actually breastfeed again as long as enough time has gone by. So the best time to drink when you're nursing?
During the process.
During the process. You're breastfeeding?
If you're too drunk to drive, you're too drunk to nurse. That's basically...
Right. And again, moderation. We're not telling you to go get bombed.
No!
Don't get bombed and drink and breastfeed.
That's my job. That's my job.
He's not
I'm the
breastfeeding.
outlet.
He's not
I
breastfeeding.
am your Frodo. Okay?
He's not breastfeeding.
I am your outlet for that. Enjoy my shenanigans.
But it is definitely different than pregnancy.
Yeah. Okay, here's interesting, and we can kind of bring some props into this.
Okay.
Okay. It's hard for me to pump every 3 hours, especially at work. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that can be done for my baby to get the amount she needs? She eats at blank, 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 blank. When she's home, she does this, this, this. I can only pump at this. During pumps, I barely get 3 ounces. What can I do to help get the best out of your time, get the most milk? So let's discuss.
Yeah, let's discuss milk quantities, because I think that so many of these questions are going to come back to this misconception, misunderstanding, misperception of how much does a baby actually drink. And it's understandable because look at the bottles that we see.
Yeah.
They're like these big 8-9 ounce bottles. Or you're watching formula-fed babies drinking a bottle of 7, 8, 9 ounces, which is actually appropriate.
Yeah.
They need that much as they get older.
If it's breast milk, no.
It's not the same with breast milk. And yes, when they're drinking it from a bottle, they will eat more of it because it's not controlled. You can pour it down their throat, but that doesn't mean that they actually needed to drink that much. And that's where you'll have like a caregiver say, I fed them all 3 feedings at one feeding because the baby didn't stop crying. Well, the baby needed to be burped, or the baby needed to be soothed. The baby needed to be held, which they're used to when they're breastfeeding.
It's kind of like when you go on a cruise and you go to the buffet.
Yeah.
You don't need that pizza, you don't need that chicken, you don't need all this, but it's there and you'll take it.
And you take it. And then you feel sick, and then you cry, and then the person who's taking care of you can't understand why you're crying, so they think you're hungry, so they force some more down. So let's go over some of our props and show them milk quantities, because this, I think, is probably going to be the most important thing that I can teach you or show you. All right, so let's go over. Look, can you see these?
We'll bring them up.
Okay.
It's kind of hard because it's white. White on a white.
I want to show you the quantity of milk in a bottle. Now that right there is
day one,
and it's actually more. It's too much.
Yeah.
That's actually like a half an ounce.
This is half an ounce.
But really, bottle. Day one, it's about a quarter of an ounce, about a teaspoon. That's about how much colostrum
Do you have the
they're
balls
drinking.
over here as well?
I do.
We have things that represent the size of the stomach.
That's day one.
Okay.
Day one. All right. That's the size of a baby's belly on day one, and that's colostrum. It's about a teaspoon. It's actually much less than this. I over poured.
Next time we should use something dark and use. It's hard with the white.
We need like blue milk.
We got it all figured out next
time. Day 3 is about a little under an ounce, about a half an ounce. That's about right. That's about when your milk's, first starting to come in. Your baby's only drinking that much per feeding, and that's going to be frequent. Probably every 2 hours, they're going to be drinking that much, and that's from both sides. Okay, so when they're eating for all that time and you're thinking, oh, they're getting so much, and then you look at it in a bottle and you go, wow, that's so little.
Yeah.
That's actually what they're drinking. And, you know, I think that helps people or moms to feel way more confident that they can make this amount.
Yeah.
I mean,
because this is not a lot.
it's not a lot.
This is not a lot.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. This is all in my class too. I have an online class.
I think what a lot of misinformation is, you know, kind of like you just addressed, is like the needs of a formula feeding parent versus breastfeeding.
Very different.
Like the education is not there for what should
Right.
actually be happening.
Absolutely. And a lot of times that's really fed into by the pediatricians, the medical community, that really doesn't see that many exclusively breastfed babies, and they're not taught to teach you, the nurses. Are you crying?
Listen, earlier today I was putting my hand in my coat pocket and the zipper shredded my fingernail and cuticle, so it sucks.
He's in pain, but he's medicated.
But I have my medicine and my onesie, so I'm good to go. And I have a fireplace.
And you have a fireplace. So, you know, I think that it really comes down to the medical community. A lot of times you're just not hearing it from your pediatrician or the nurses really teaching you how big your baby's belly is, how much milk they should be eating. They're also encouraging weight gain too quickly. You know, I had a mom this week, I think I answered her question on my Facebook page about the baby was gaining slowly. And it was, you know, the baby was gaining smaller than normal, you know, smaller like on the curve. I think it was like the 2 percentile, so the baby was small for age. But the question was, is the baby gaining weight? And the baby had gained 1 pound in a month. So to me, that's the baby going in the right direction, and there's no reason to supplement that baby. Obviously, the baby's doing well. Some babies are just smaller, and a lot of breastfed babies are just smaller. This is day 10, and this is around 1.5 to 2 ounces. That's the entire feeding. And then let's get to a full feeding, okay? These are the Evenflo Feeding bottles, and these are 5-ounce bottles. These are the storage collection bottles that you can hook up to your pump. And this bottle here is filled to 4 ounces. So just right there, I don't know if you could see that. That's a full feeding.
4 ounces.
From both sides. So we're talking like half of that from each side. Or maybe, you know, you can get that from the one side. But if you're expecting to get a lot more than this at a pumping session, or you're only getting this and thinking it's not enough, that's the problem, not your.
And I think also, let's also discuss ways you know your baby is getting enough. You know, look at their diapers. Look at how many wet and dirty diapers they have.
6 to 8 wet diapers in a 24-hour period.
You also want to look at how their clothes fit them. If you are like this baby and you notice like their onesie fits them a certain way, and a few days later it's like loosey-goosey and it gets bigger, that's a very good visual cue. So there's a few ways that, like right there in the moment, that I teach my clients about how do you know your baby got enough. And these are all things, and anybody who's expecting right now, I highly recommend that, you know, getting this information. I have an online breastfeeding class. It's actually included with the Evenflo Feeding pump. So when you get the pump, you actually get the Simply Breastfeeding full class with me to watch online. And if you don't have the pump, you can go to my website and get the class. But what I teach is 4 ways to know, because you can't see the milk. One is you feel your breasts before the feeding. Okay, just get in the habit of like feeling them, which most moms do anyway. And then you feed the baby, and then after the feeding, you feel your breast again. And if it feels a lot softer and the pillow underneath you is not soaking wet, it went in. Yeah. Like it was there and now it's gone. Milk went in. That's a really good way to know. I mean, it's duh, but it actually. But it's not. But the thing is also, it's also not duh for everyone.
Yeah, it actually is very meaningful. The other thing is you're listening for swallows. Okay, you're not just watching the baby's jaw, and you'll see nurses or people describing just watch the baby's jaws moving. That's not enough. You actually want to hear the baby swallowing and transferring milk. Yeah, there's
a ridiculous monitor also that I saw. Wasn't it at ABC this year? Where like you put it right here and it monitored the jaw movement of the baby. Jaw movement does not matter.
It doesn't matter. You're listening for the swallow, and a swallow sounds like this. It sounds like. So you'll hear the milk start to let down or come out, and the baby starts sucking, and all of a sudden you hear, And sometimes it can be really quiet, so you really have to listen for it. But if you're hearing a lot of swallows, that's your baby eating. And it's a good way to tell when the feeding's actually finished, because you won't hear any more of the swallowings. They just like to suck and hang out for a while.
Kind of like when the microwave popcorn slows down.
It's exactly like
when
that.
You get like 3 to 4 seconds between
that.
kernels. Don't burn your popcorn
exactly.
up.
They're done. They're done.
No one hates that burn we all hate burn popcorn smell.
Third way to know your baby got enough, right? Is 6 to 8 wet diapers in a 24-hour period. And the last way is a satisfied baby. And that's not just like take the baby off the breast, baby's happy. That means you're, swaddling the baby, or you're rocking the baby, or you're doing some other soothing techniques. A pacifier would be good at that point to test to see if the baby takes the pacifier and it calms down and is totally happy. They don't want a pacifier when they're still hungry. So these are some ways that you know your baby got enough. It's not going to be the volume. You can't see it.
I would just also like to say something here. I had to open up a new browser because Facebook is being very crazy. I love a good milk drunk baby. You got a milk drunk baby.
Babies are the best. And there really is such a thing because your body's producing a hormone called relaxin. So that feeling, first of all, they get it, and second of all, you get it. And that's the reason that when you breastfeed, you start to feel like kind of real good and relaxed and like sleepy and, high. You're just kind of like, oh, this is a nice feeling. And what that is just the hormone that's helping you to relax, and same with your baby. So the milk drunk is a real thing for babies.
I'm finding some good questions here. Hold please. Hold please.
Yes, I love the passed out smiles. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, this is very long. I'm gonna have to try to do.
Oh my
synopsis.
God. Okay.
but this is a very legit concern. Okay. My baby is 19 weeks old and is listed as failing to thrive. She was 10 pounds 2 ounces on exclusive breast milk at 17 weeks. I got my menstrual cycle back 8 weeks after birth, and it has damaged my milk supply. I have tried herbal remedies. She's tried calcium. She's tried pumping every 2 hours. The OBGYN and pediatrician are both saying give up at this point. She's on very high calorie formula, and she's gained 1 pound 1 ounce in 10 days. She's only able to pump about 4 ounces in a day.
In a whole day?
In a 24-hour time frame. Your doctors don't think your body can produce enough due to heavy menstruation cycles and hormones. Lactation consultants say the doctors are wrong and that you need to keep nursing and pumping and you will make milk. Both sides make this woman feel like a failure.
Of course they do. It's so tough.
No one addresses the issues of menstruating moms whose milk suffers. What can I do to save my milk and make nursing my daughter successful? Any advice you can give me is great. This sucks. From an extremely heartbroken and frustrated mama.
It is heartbreaking, and I can feel the pain that she's going through, and she's not alone. And what I've noticed, I've been doing this for a really long time, and it's something that I've seen a slow progression. I hate to say this, but over the last 10 to 15 years, I've seen a big difference in milk supplies, and I've also seen a big difference in how soon after birth moms are getting their periods again. And I can only attribute this to the estrogens that we are getting in our environment. And I hate to say that is definitely a contributor. I feel that just from seeing it over a long period of time. I think from the foods, the meats, the antibiotics, the hormones that we're seeing in the foods, plus all the plastics, all these hormone disrupting chemicals that we have in our environment, moms are getting their periods sooner. And when estrogen levels are higher, prolactin levels are lower, and we will see milk supply issues, and we are seeing it. And this could be one of the things that's contributing to this mom here. I would definitely make sure that you can't avoid all of these things, but if you're thinking this may be the problem, you want to start thinking about it. Okay, and try to do as much avoiding as you can do. And then the last thing is to realize that it's not all or nothing. If she's only they're both kind of right. What's happening is the baby is not getting enough. 4 ounces in a 24-hour period is not enough to nourish your baby, and you can't just let the baby starve. So lactation consultant telling you that as long as you just keep breastfeeding, the baby's going to be fine, that's not true. The baby actually does need to be supplemented. The baby needs to be taken care of at that moment. But then you have to remember that as you feed that formula and you do less breastfeeding, your milk supply will drop as well.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in this catch-22 where you have to do both. What I would recommend is to try to continue to do any kind of breastfeeding that you can, because even some breastfeeding, so you got some formula and some breast milk, the baby's still getting the benefits of that breast milk. It's not like an all or nothing,
Yeah.
so you can still continue. And remember too that as the months and weeks go on, breast milk continues to change. So if your calorie content or your fat content of your milk is low early on when you first start nursing, that can change over time. I think the biggest takeaway from this very long question and very long answer is that it's not all or nothing. And you do need to take care of the baby, and formula feeding, what we would consider combo feeding, where you're doing both, is a very real situation for a lot of moms, whether it's because of low milk supply issues or because of returning to work early and they're not able to pump while they're at work, or whatever the reason is, or their choice to do it.
Would you suggest something like a supplemental nursing system for her, maybe, if she worked with
that would be fantastic
LC?
to do, as long as she's working with an LC.
Yeah.
But that's going to definitely help to stimulate the breast. But I have a feeling what she's describing here actually is a hormonal issue.
Yeah.
And so she's getting to that as well. So supplemental nursing system, which is where you're actually giving the baby formula through a container that's attached to a tube to your nipple, so that the baby's getting milk at the breast, getting formula at the breast while still stimulating the breast. She's sort of in a different situation because the milk supply is so low at this point. But that 4 ounces is still liquid gold, and you still want to give it. Don't mix it with the formula. Don't mix the bottles. Give the whole bottle of breast milk, and then give the formula separate.
Okay, very good. We've never discussed this topic before here, I think, so why not?
Okay.
One word, thrush. How do you avoid getting it? Can you get rid of it naturally, or is medicine required? How to soothe your nipples when you get it? How do you avoid reinfection? Joe?
Refill. Thrush is a big issue, and it can be so painful. So thrush is yeast infection on the nipples. It could be in the breast. It could be in the baby's mouth. One of the main ways that you'll get thrush is antibiotic use. So a very common way, very common reason is antibiotics in labor. Whether you're groupie strep and they gave you IV antibiotics, or you had a C-section, you typically have antibiotics because of that. And that you just have to know that if you've gotten antibiotics, you're much more at risk for developing thrush. Some simple things that you could do to help prevent it or make it go away, if it's not too severe, like acidophilus, probiotics, would help to get rid of the thrush. You're trying to replenish the good bacteria. What happens is, we all have yeast in our bodies, and when what keeps the yeast from overgrowing is the good bacteria that we have in our bodies. So when we take antibiotics and that bacteria level drops, the yeast overgrows. Okay, so replenishing with probiotics is going to help to get the yeast levels to come back down, because it eats the yeast.
Okay.
Bacteria basically eats the yeast. Also, decreasing your sugars, because sugar feeds the yeast, so you want to really cut out sugars, and that includes like fruit juices and things like that as well. And for really severe cases, and I'm talking about like pain in the nipple, the way that it feels, and I had it with both my kids, I could tell you, it was horrific. It feels like pain in between the feedings. So you've got this nipple pain that hurts not when necessarily the baby's latching, but right after the feeding or in between feedings. And sharp shooting breast pain in between feedings is a typical sign of thrush.
Yeah.
Typically, if it's gotten to that point where it's in the breast, you need some kind of an antifungal, diflucan, some kind of an antifungal, not antibiotic. That's the opposite of what you want to do. So you want to see your practitioner and probably a lactation consultant who's going to help you to diagnose it.
I just saw a question pop up on here, and then I want to go to like a group question on Facebook real quick. How much water should you be drinking while you're pumping and nursing?
To thirst. This always comes up because you'll have everybody recommending drink lots of water, force fluids to make more milk, and that's just not true. Actually, it can be damaging. You're drinking to thirst, and you're going to be thirsty. So I would say, like, having, you know, take a glass of water like this, right? You sit down to breastfeed, you drink a glass of water while you're breastfeeding. That's to thirst. To sit down and think that, okay, I want to try to increase my milk supply, I'm going to just start pouring and drinking, and that's going to make milk. You can actually decrease your milk supply by over drinking water. Okay, so it's not the answer. Dehydration, not drinking enough and becoming this is a good way to describe it. Drinking more water will not increase your supply, but not drinking enough and becoming dehydrated can decrease your supply.
Okay.
That's where this all comes from.
Fair.
Okay, so you want to stay hydrated and not get dehydrated, but not overhydrated.
How many ounces per day? The usual formula for that is drink at least half of your body weight in ounces. It's not, everybody's like, you have to drink 8 glasses of water, or this and this and this. Everybody's built differently, and our cells function differently. We're different sizes.
Drink till your pee is clear.
Yeah. If your pee looks like Gatorade, and you're taking the enamel off a toilet, drink more water.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I judge it, is like, you know, drink enough water till your pee is not color.
Yeah,
That's
you don't
it.
want that orange pee. No one needs
But
it.
not more than that. You're not going to drown yourself.
Yeah. So some people here were asking, like, they don't know if their pump is being effective. They don't know if the suction is still any good, etc. So I think this is actually a pretty good segue to kind of talk about, like, pump things that we talk about this every time. Not just because Evenflo makes this chat possible, but it's important. I did not know shit about pumps.
Yeah.
And when I was even selling them and cleaning them and renting them and whatever, you just kind of learn whatever until you actually get the information.
Yeah.
So I think this is important.
I'll bring the pump over.
So let's get this pump here that one of you lovely people will win tonight. Not this one, a new one.
You'll get
You're
a brand
welcome.
new one.
And you'll also get Shari's classes with that pump that you win.
There's actually 2 classes. It's Simply Breastfeeding, which is like all about breastfeeding, starting off the first like 6 weeks. And then there's the new class that I just filmed this past year, which is Breast Pumps and Briefcases. Awesome class. Everything you need to know about pumping, using your pump, how much milk I need to leave for my baby, how to store it, everything about going back to work. So, you know, I know you guys have a million questions because you're writing to me with a million questions. Get the class, and the class will answer those questions for you. If you don't have the Evenflo pump, you can go onto my website, mybabyexperts.com, and you can get the class there too. But the pump, as far as like you're not getting enough suction, 2 things that I would think about, and I read that question earlier. She said that she had already changed her membranes.
The membranes.
Okay, so what she was talking about, she said she changed her membranes. Membranes are the little flaps, these little flappy things, and on different pumps, you're going to see them different ways. They may be a valve, little white valves, little flaps. These are the soft pieces that wear out.
Closer.
Yeah.
It
wears out.
Here we go. This little guy. That is the membrane on this pump. Some are flaps, some are like white cones, okay? But this is what the membrane looks like on this pump.
Yep. So this little flap, this little membrane, they wear out over time. They're not meant to last forever. They'll you know, and depending on how often you use your pump, you need to change those little membranes. So these are like little extra replacement parts. You go to the store, they'll sell these little parts separately, and you replace them. They come off easily. You want to be careful when you're washing them too, because if they get really stretched out, what's happening is the pump is sucking air through this tube right here, and when it's sucking, if it's going up to your breast and there's air getting sucked up from the bottle because the membrane is warped.
This doesn't work.
This doesn't work, so you don't feel suction. So it's the very first thing that you want to check out. If you feel like all of a sudden the suction's not working, check your membranes, switch your membranes, change them. It's probably time for replacement. The other thing you want to check to make sure is that everything's in place properly. You have all kinds of little parts, diaphragms like this. Make sure everything's not bent. Okay, so check your parts. The other thing, and I remember I read this question earlier, she had done all those things, and I believe the baby's like 6 months old at this point, right? Your breasts, remember before we were talking about at around 6 months, you start to feed solids, you might get your period again. Your breasts are going to change shape and they're going to shrink. You'll usually see a big change in size from when you first started breastfeeding to somewhere around 6 months and beyond. What that means is that the flange size that you were using when you started might not be the right flange size for you at that point. And a flange is this piece right here that goes up against the breast. With the Evenflo Feeding Advanced Double, this is a pump that I helped to design with the company. I came in early on to help them, to tell them and show them what I would recommend to my clients, and they're amazing. It's an amazing company. They came up with this amazing pump, and I've used it with a lot of moms who love it. What's great about it, one of the things that's great about it, is it comes with 3 different flange sizes included with the pump, because unlike bra size or breast size where you can get measured, this is not something you can measure for. You need to actually try them on. And you'll know when you have the right size because it feels more comfortable and you're expressing milk better. That's really, you can't tell from looking at the nipple what size you're going to need. And like we were saying, and this is the answer to the question here, it may be that you're not feeling as much suction, or
your flange isn't right.
Because it might not actually be that she's not feeling much suction. What she's feeling is that she's not getting as much milk. So she's attributing that to not getting enough suction. And that's very common, is to think because you're not getting as much milk, you're not getting as much suction. Make sense? Okay.
Let's just go over.
Let's go over the pump.
Okay, so let's just go over the pump. We've talked about flanges, etc.
Okay, so flange size, super important. And I have a video on Facebook. On Facebook, on YouTube. You have it on your Facebook, I believe.
It's on my Facebook in the video section.
It's great. It's going to show you what a good flange size looks like. So you definitely want to check that out. So 3 flanges that come included, very, very important. Very important feature that I would look for on all breast pumps is that it has an individual speed and suction. Can you hold that closer to the screen as well?
I sure can. Individual speed versus suction.
So like the first level there actually controls the speeds, and then the bottom controls the suction. And you want to be able to do that yourself. A lot of people
it's not just a phase 1, phase 2 kind of thing.
It's not. It's really not. And the reason for that is because you can have multiple letdowns during one pumping session.
I have multiple letdowns every day of my life, but it has nothing to do with breastfeeding. So
there you
listen.
go. There you go.
It's called real life.
It's real life. I have multiple letdowns as well. We all have multiple letdowns. Multiple letdowns is just a fact of life.
Right.
And with pumping, it is no different. But this is the only time you really want multiple letdowns.
Yeah.
You don't want just one letdown. It's going to help to empty your breast. When your baby's nursing at the breast, the baby's actually stimulating multiple letdowns, and you can only really achieve that with an independent speed and suction. So you really want that on your pump. So that's the second feature that I would definitely look for. And then the last feature, for sure.
Closed pumping system.
Closed system. You guys have heard us say this a million times, and I'm going to say it 1,000,001 tonight, okay? Closed system. What that means, right? What that means is a pump has either an open system or a closed system. When the system is open, that means the tube is just plugged right here behind the flange, and there's no barrier preventing milk from getting into your tubing. Remember, this motor is sucking strongly in the direction of the pump. So if milk splashes and there's no barrier, it's going to get inside your tubing. Once it gets inside this little teeny weeny tubing here, it's very hard to clean, and you're going to grow mold and bacteria in here. And milk can actually suck all the way back into your motor, which can never be cleaned. Yuck. Okay? So with a closed system, you have a little barrier. And see, that's the little diaphragm that gets stuck right there, and then this gets clicked on, and what that does is you'll see when you're pumping, this little thing's going up and down. It's creating a vacuum. So milk goes down and flows down into the bottle, but there's a barrier, so it's blocked from getting into your tube. I also have a really good video demonstrating what it looks like between an open and a closed system on my Facebook page.
And I will say, there are pumps that say there are closed systems that are not.
That are not, exactly.
I have witnessed closed system pumps where the milk backs up into the tubing, and you're like, how the hell did this happen?
If there's no barrier at the point of the flange, it's open. Period. And even some of the hospital grade pumps are open systems. Okay, so that means that your tube can get dirty. What makes it a closed hospital grade pump is that it cannot get into the motor of the pump. But that doesn't mean that it can't get into your tubing. It can still get into your tubing. So those are the three things that I look for. Oh, let me give you a really great feature of this pump that has nothing to do with safety, but it totally has to do with comfort, and this is one of my favorite features of this. The way we angled the flanges, these are comfort flanges. What that means, and anyone who's pumping knows what I'm talking about. You know how you have to kind of lean forward so the milk goes down and it doesn't like get back on you and break the seal. You know, if you get all wet with milk, if you don't lean forward with most of the pumps, it's going to splash onto your breast. You have to keep drying off. These are angled in a way where you can sit up and the milk is still going down. So it's going to save your back and your neck.
So if you have like a good pumping bra, like Simple Wishes or something, you can hook them in,
and
you can get on and Facebook me, you can email, you can do whatever you need, and you sit there and you're like, oh, I'm pumping and like living my dream right now. I'm having the experience.
So it's got all the, I mean, functionality wise, and it's small, and it's got like these integrated bottle holders, which means that when you pump your milk, it's really secure. So like I used to pump in the middle of the night. It would sit on my night table. So I could just, pump, put it there, because breast milk can sit out for many hours. That's the whole storage conversation we can get into. But if it sits in there...
Let's do that after this. Let's do that after this.
These are great. And it also, so you got the holders, and it also takes batteries. And it also has this really awesome bag, too. So it has the bag and the cooler. And I think the winner's getting the advanced deluxe.
The deluxe
which actually has the cooler, all the storage containers, and...
somebody asked what this is called. It is the Evenflo Deluxe Advanced Double Electric Pump. And if... check with your DMEs, find out with your insurance if it's covered. If it's not... Can I
say something about that? Because I've been getting questions, private messages to me, because everybody's heard us talking about this Evenflo Feeding pump, and then they're like, they go call and they can't get it, and they only cover Medela, or they only cover whatever. That just could mean that it's that particular DME that's not carrying this pump, but it doesn't mean your insurance won't cover it. The insurance is not choosing which pump to cover. It's the DME that's choosing who to buy from, and that is influencing what you can get. So say you have Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna or whatever, and you're calling a particular DME that's listed, there may be another one, there usually is, that will also be covered by that insurance and covers this pump. So I would just try a different DME and ask them for the Evenflo Feeding Advanced Double. Typically, because the price point on this pump is so much less.
That's what I was going to say too. Even if for some reason your insurance doesn't cover it, the price point for this pump hovers around $100.
Yeah. It's for just the pump, like the regular basic, it's about $99. You can get them, Babies R Us, Buy My Baby, Walmart. But the deluxe, with all that we just showed you, is around $129.
Yeah, it's $129.
So that actually makes it even better when you're getting it from your DME, because it's typically you don't need to see, like a lot of the more expensive pumps, you're having to add money to it. This is typically going to be completely covered by insurance if you do find it through your DME.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
There we go. So let's just talk about, somebody's been asking about storage. We just kind of brought it up. And then in my imaginary mind up here, I think it's important. A lot of women who go back to work and they are pumping, they need to realize you're pumping all day, you don't need to go clean these in the sink at your office. You can throw them in like a wet bag and store them in the fridge all day and just wash them once. Like, you don't need to worry about cleaning parts. So let's talk about storage.
Yes. Well, yeah, and one of the things that I teach in my breast pumps and briefcases class, which again, one more feature comes with education, 2 full classes. I teach about what Jamie was just referring to. After you've pumped, a trick, put your parts inside your cooler with your milk.
Yep.
Because the milk can be kept cold in a cooler for up to 24 hours and still be okay. So that means the milk that's on the parts doesn't need to be rinsed, and you keep it cold and you use it again, and when you come home, then you're washing everything. So you don't even need to get like a refrigerator at work, or you don't need any of that. Just a cooler with ice packs. Just make sure you freeze your ice packs before you leave for work or at night before you go. But storing milk. Typically, fresh milk, when it's fresh pumped, can be left out like room temperature for like 8 hours. It depends on how hot or cold your house is, but at around 72 degrees or less, up to 8 hours at room temperature.
Now here's something that might be a little interesting. Like, breast milk is antifungal, antimicrobial, like whatever.
It's alive.
So you're not worried about necessarily organisms and like all
you're
of
not. That's a good point. It's coming out of your body. It's alive. It is killing bacteria in its path.
I have used. Okay? Listen. This is a true story. I got the pink eye a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
And my sister Jennifer pumped. She was nursing. It was Grayson. I think it was still Grayson. She was feeding Grayson. I put my sister's breast milk in my eye. Yeah. Got rid of that pink eye.
It's amazing.
Use hot water in a rag. Breast milk.
It works great for babies too. So blocked tear ducts, infected tear ducts, pink eye.
Zits.
It's great in their eyes. But that's because it does kill bacteria. So 2 things. One is it can be left out at room temperature. It's not going to grow bacteria. It can be in the refrigerator for up to 5 to 8 days.
So room temperature again, what would you say?
Under 72 degrees.
No, for a length of time, like 4 to 8 hours or something, or?
I say 8 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say around 8 hours is safe to do. So say you pump it right before you go to bed or during the night, you can just wait till the morning to put it in the refrigerator. You don't need to get up in the middle of the night to go store it. You could just leave it there if the room is cool, which you should be doing anyway with your baby for cyst prevention, keeping the room cool, and then, right?
Yeah,
hand in hand.
That nursery's got to be cold for that kid.
And then you can leave your milk out and put it away in the morning. It can stay in the refrigerator up to 8 days. So it can sit out. It can sit in the refrigerator for a week before you can use it. And you can either use it, or if it's getting closer to that time, you can then freeze it, and it can be in the freezer for 4 to 6 months.
And then depending on, like, I remember when I went through my classes, like a regular, typical kitchen freezer, 4 to 6.
A deep freezer,
a deep freeze,
like a year.
Yeah.
You could do a lot longer. But the thing with the whole freezer stash, and this is where people get like kind of crazy, and they go and they buy extra freezers, and they're just storing up tons and tons and thousands of ounces of milk.
Yeah.
Unless you're planning to donate that milk, you don't really need to do all that. And one of the biggest causes of oversupply, which then leads to breast infections and mastitis and gassy babies and too much more milk and all these other issues, is oversupply from pumping too much. And remember, if you keep on pumping a lot, you're going to make a ton. So I wouldn't keep that going unless you're donating it.
Somebody asked really quick about nursery temperature. It's really, depending on what you read, it'll hover around 67 to 70 degrees. That's a good, it's colder than you think because cold stimulates your respiratory system. There's a genius product called the Grow Egg, and I have one at home. It's a little egg, like thermometer nightlight, and you plug it in, and when the egg is orange, I believe the room is at the right temperature. Side note.
Somebody just asked the question, she only has 2 ounces in the freezer. I think that's what she said. And how much should she actually store or have? Typically, what I recommend is that you start saving up to have somewhere around 10 to 12 feedings. What that means is a feeding I would consider around 3 to 4 ounces, and you want at least 10 of them stored away for emergency use.
I'm just looking up here for a second.
So we're talking like 40 ounces, around 40 to 60 ounces. Eventually, that doesn't mean you have to do that all in the first week. That means that you can pump a little bit of extra at a time and start storing that up. I would like to see people have at least 10 extra feedings in the freezer when they go back to work, in addition to the milk that they need for their first day back. So that's a good answer. I think I have a clip from my program about calculating your amount of milk to go back for your first day. So it's actually a clip from my full program on my Facebook page under my videos.
Very good. Yeah, we only have a few more minutes.
Wow. Fast.
Yeah, this went very fast tonight, actually. We may come back after this, I'm just saying. We may take a break and come back and just answer your random questions.
We're going to do random questions.
So when we shut off, give us a few minutes. We're going to refill and remember our spirits, and then we're going to come back and answer whatever you want. So yeah, we only have like 2 more minutes. So I just want to thank you all for hanging out. I love doing these. It's super fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love it.
This is the greatest. So, yeah, thanks for hanging out.
We'll be back.
Yeah, thanks for
we need a short break.
We need a short
break, and we'll come back and we'll do
I
some
hope
more
you all
Q&A.
learned a lot. I think that's one thing that I love about this, and it's why Shari and I got along when we first met 47 years ago.
In another life.
It was like, you know, she knows a lot. I have a different knowledge set in my head, but it's like we can talk about it and like just chat and like who cares, and like our goal is to get information out there. You know, like my Facebook is crazy, my Instagram is nuts. You know, I clearly don't talk about just baby stuff, but I love these sessions where we can just like help people and chat.
They're awesome.
So
they're awesome.
This is good.
Can I tell people to follow me for
please
my streaming?
Go, please.
But they have to follow me, my personal profile. Unfortunately,
we're trying to get her verified on Facebook, so
they
she
won't
can
do it.
this.
So we need a petition or something. But anyway, in the meantime, I'll answer your questions. I'm going to do some live streaming. If you follow me just at Shari Criso, just follow my personal profile.
You don't have to friend her.
No,
just hit follow.
Just follow, and then you'll get notifications, and I'll do some Q&A in between our sessions because you'll be far away.
I'm moving to Denver
and,
in 2 weeks.
And we'll be still getting together.
What will happen when I move? That is a very valid question.
We'll find each other.
We will find each other. We always have.
We're traveling a lot.
We all travel like crazy, so we're going to try to sync up our travel schedules. I will be in New York 4 or 5 times this year with events. So
and I get to go to Denver.
And she can come hang out with
Colorado.
in Denver.
That's right.
We love Denver.
We promise we will figure it out. This will not be the end of it for sure.
No. And we want to again, thank you, Evenflo.
Yeah.
This, Evenflo over the past year has completely changed my conception of the brand, to be honest. And it's, Elise at Evenflo, if you follow her on Instagram or whatever, or she writes you on Facebook, she's one of my dearest. She's wonderful. They are really doing some interesting things. We have really cool things going on throughout this year. And I'm excited to keep this partnership here going.
Yeah, and I work super close with with the company. We partnered together, and the reason that I did is because they are an amazing group of women, which I love, all breastfeeding moms and women who run the company and who just have a real commitment to other nursing moms and education and quality products. And so thank you for everything, and I know everybody out there is thanking them tonight for putting together this amazing chat and making...
Sorry. I didn't plug my phone back into the battery and it about died. Okay. So thank you for hanging out. We will see you all shortly.
Few minutes.
Make your dreams.
Don't go away.
And we will...
We'll take a pee break.
I'll pick the winner of this breast pump tomorrow when I'm on the train going back to New York. So thank you all for hanging out. Hope you learned a lot. Share it with your friends. Share it, share it, share it, share it, share it. Okay?
Love you guys.
That's the goal. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Mwah.